First says that testing shows the presence of defects. What is the meaning of? So generally, why we need testing? Whatever you have done, either in terms of software or in terms of program, you should have to find out the faults or the defects as maximum as possible. So your objective of testing any program or module or software is to find out the defects, faults or errors. So when you are going to deliver your software or project to the end user, it should work according to the user's requirements. So find out the presence of defects as maximum as possible. Okay. Next principle says that effective testing, not exhaustive. What is exhaustive? Means suppose if you have to perform any task and that task you have to perform repeatedly again and again, right? So at one level you become tedious, and there might be possible that you may not be able to do that task effectively, and that says the exhaustive testing. So it is not possible to test all the functionalities with all valid and invalid combination of inputs. It requires more efforts. And you also have to consider your project deadline. Within a short period of time or within the given period of time, you need to test all the modules. So it is not possible to test any module, any program with all possible inputs as valid and invalid. So let us consider the example. Let's say you have implemented one program which takes the one integer number or one number, and then it generates that whether the enter number is prime number or enter number is even number or odd number, right? And it is also given that the range is there. The enter number must be between 1 to 100. So now when you develop a program and at the end you are going to run or you are going to test your program, then you have to enter some numbers. So how many numbers are there? The range is like the 1 to 100. So is it possible to enter the number 1, then check whether your program gives correct output or not? Then you have to enter number 2, then you have to enter number 3 till the number 100. So you have to enter 100 total valid inputs. Beyond that, you also have to enter all possible invalid inputs. Like say, the range is between 1 to 100, right? So now you also have to check whether your program works when you enter any number which is less than 1 or which is greater than 100. So again, you can imagine that how number of numbers are there or invalid inputs are there that you need to enter, and it is not possible to do that like in that way, right? So it says that what you have to test, it should be effective. You have to show that your program works properly, and if you are entering any valid data, then it gives a correct output, and if you are entering any invalid data, then you also have to show that whether it generates any error or not. That is known as the effective testing. Is it clear? Hello?
Okay,
Hello?
ma'am.
Okay. Now, see again here one example is given that like say age you have to enter in your program and the range is say 18 to 60, right? So the valid inputs or invalid, you can say if you enter the 17, that says the invalid. If you enter the 18, 19, 59, 16, then these inputs are valid. And if you enter the 61, again it is invalid. So if you enter any one of this data, then your program should display either as correct output or unexpected behavior of a program, right? But if the range is billion or million, then it is not possible. So it says that there are some techniques or the methods, and using that techniques or methods, you can.
मैम बीजा स्टूडेंट्स ने रिक्वेस्ट एक्सेप्ट कर जो
Hello.
બીજા સ્ટુડન્ટ્સ ને રિક્વેસ્ટ એક્સેપ્ટ કરજો મેમ
Actually છે ને મારે સ્ક્રીનમાં કંઈક પ્રોબ્લેમ થાય છે, હું બેગ નથી જોઈ શકતી. Just a minute, let me try for it. Wait for a few minutes, please. Anyone else who wants to point? Thank you. Okay. So are you clear in this second principle? Please, I need the reply.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, thank you. Next is early testing is the best policy. What is the meaning of early testing? Now, suppose if you have developed, implemented any program, right, as you are doing during your exam, one sheet is given to you, and according to that definition, you have to implement your program. And once you implement the program, and then you feel that you have done it is correctly, and you just call the examiner to test your program, right? So early testing is what? Now suppose when the examiner comes to test your program and examiner asks to enter any kind of data. Generally what in the developers mind that whatever they have done that is correct. So always developer tries to show that there is no error in a program or in a module, right? But the tester has to find out the errors. So tester has to enter the invalid and valid data also. Now, early testing means what? Testing is not a single phase. It is not like say that first of all you have to understand the requirements and then you have to design, then you have to make the coding of program and then test your program. That is known as the post to testing, right? So at the end you don't have to test it, but from the beginning, that means from the SRS, means system requirement specifications. Why we need to start the early testing? So generally in our mind is that application is not developed, how we can test it, right? So it is not like said after the development of the application, you have to test your application or module. But you have to start the testing from the SRS. So when is the right time to start the testing? So it is, as I said, it is not a single phase. You have to start from the SRS. So why we need to start from the early stage? SRS means System Requirement Specification. What does it include? SRS includes all the requirements that you have collected from the clients or the users using the different techniques like say interview, questionnaire, or interview, questionnaire, etc. And what the requirements you have gathered that you have to note down on paper. It is known as the SRS document, right? So the SRS contains all the information. Now there might be a chance that you what the information you have collected in terms of the requirements of the user, it may be incomplete. If you understand that requirements of the users as misunderstand, right, means wrongly, you have noted that the user requires this requirement, and you have noted that information as wrongly. And now next phase is design. So according to SRS, the designer has to design the interfaces, means forms as well as a database. So if SRS is incorrect, incomplete, then next phase design and the database design and interface design may also go in a wrong way. After that, designing of interface and the database, now the developers have to develop the programs or the coding, right? So if SRS is incorrect, incomplete, then it affects on the designing of the database and the forms, and it also affects on the coding because everything is given as incomplete or incorrect. Then again, the coding may be wrong. And then after coding, if you test the program, if you test the module, then you can realize that it is not working according to the user's requirements. So now what will you do? Can anyone answer me? What will you do after coding? You all are doing a project, right? Yes or no? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Anyone else? All of you are doing a project, right? All of you have developed your project, means coding is part is done. and then you run your program, and if any form is not working properly, if any form is accepting wrong data, it is storing in the database. So what will be the result? What will happen? What will you do? Moksha, hello, Moksha, can you reply me? Yes. What is my query? Can do you understand? Anyways, okay. So now say, when you run your program, when you run your module, and if you enter the data, and if you feel that, or if you find out that there is an error, it is not accepting the valid input, it is also accepting the invalid input. And if you are giving a valid input, even though you are not getting the desired output, then what will you do? You have to go back, means you have to find out whether is there any error in database designing or in an interface design. If no, then you have to go back to the SRS. That means, is there any fault in SRS? If you find in any phase, either in SRS or in a database designing or form designing, then you have to revise it. Means you have to correct the SRS if it is wrong. If database designing or form designing is wrong, then again you have to correct it, and then again you have to make correction in your coding, and then you need to test it again and then find out whether it generates the correct output or not. So ultimately it requires more time, it requires more cost in terms of everything, like the resources, or in terms of persons, testers, designer, everything they need to, all the persons have to perform a task as SRS or designing again and again, right? So it affects on the cost of the project, it affects on the quality of the project, it affects on the schedule of the project. So it says that early testing is the best policy, right? So as and when you complete the SRS, you just show that SRS to team members and try to find out the error. Like say in your SDP, in a very at the beginning in SIM 5, what you people were doing after finding the definition of the project, you have to collect the all the requirements of your system, right? You gather the modules and then say this module will perform this many activities, yes or no, right? So that is known as the SRS. And once you show that SRS to your project mentor, the duty of the project mentor is what? They have to find out, is there any module is missing or not? Is there any activity is missing or not? If you say all some modules are there, and then you have say, okay, modules will perform following activities, then we need to check all the activities, we need to understand all the activities, we have to find out all the activities you have mentioned are correct or not. So that is known as SRS, right? So it is better that you start the testing at the early stage, not the last. Is it correct? Okay, shall we go for the next?
Yes, ma'am.
So next principle says that it should start at the smallest module and expand towards the whole. It means any software or any project contains number of modules. Small parts of the project, they are the modules ultimately, right? So it is not like say that first you implement all the modules and then test your entire system. If you are just a minute, wait for minutes. Students are requested to join as early as possible. If any problem, do not arise them. Okay. So next principle, it should start at the smallest module level and then expand. Testing, you cannot start after completing your entire system development or whole system or project development, right? But as and when you complete one single unit or module, then you need to test it with the as individual modules, and then slowly once you like, suppose as for example you have a module as a registration in your system, another module is say login module is there, then say category module is there, subcategory module is there. So these are the different modules, right? So it is not like say first you implement all these modules and then run them and then check them, right? So first is you have to test all the modules individually whether they work correctly or not, check out it, and then integrate all the modules and it becomes ultimately your final system. So if you test a single module at a time, then it requires less efforts and you can say that it works correctly. So now you can go further for the another module. If I say that I have not checked the register module, I have not tested register module, right? And directly I jump to the login module. Now you know that the login module requires a username and password. So username and password comes from where? It comes from the registration module. But you have not tested register module. And it might be possible that the register module may accept the wrong data. And if the register module accept the wrong data, then you might not be able to run your login module. So it says that you check the each and every modules individually and they are correct, and then you integrate them. So now suppose I have tested the register module, it works correctly, it works according to the requirements, it accepts the correct data, and then I can jump to the login module. So what the data I got from the register module, I can enter in a login module, and now I can say that what the name and password I have entered, it may be wrong or it may be correct. So when it is correct, it is stored correctly in a database, then it says it is correct. Then also we need to check it if I enter the wrong data, like username and password. If I enter the wrong, then it works or not. If it does not work, then it is okay. And if I enter the correct data and password, then I can say it is correct, right? So you have to test all the modules individually and then slowly combine all the modules, and finally it becomes a one system. Then you can again test it. Is it clear? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Just a minute. Hello. Any any other student? All of you are clear. Those who are joined, please reply me. All of you are clear in this point. So I
Yes,
can
ma'am.
thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
મેમ પછી બધા બહાર છે મેસેજ આવે છે કે જોઈન નથી થતું એમ.
If it is possible, then I will put the recording also, and we will revise again this lecture. Okay. Now, next principle is says destructive approach for constructive testing. Okay. Now, see, generally, what is the psychology of any tester? Right? Suppose if I have done any activity or if I have done some work and if I ask to you people to check out that my work, wait, then what will you do? Reply me, please. Anyone? Suppose I have given one task to do sorry, you have given me some task to do, and if I complete it, and then I will say that now you have to check it, you have to test it, then what will you do? I need a response from you.
We will check it whether it is any error or not.
Hello? How will you check it? What will you check in it? શું કરશો બોલો જલ્દી. મેં કોઈ ટાસ્ક પરફોર્મ કર્યો છે, રાઈટ? તમે મને આપ્યો તો, અને પછી તમને હું એ કમ્પ્લીટ કરીને આપું છું. તમે શું કરશો એના માટે? ટેસ્ટિંગમાં શું કરશો? વોટ ઇઝ ધ મિનિંગ ઓફ ટેસ્ટિંગ?
ડિફરન્ટ ડેટા એડ કરીશું અને ચેક કરીશું એરર જનરેટ થાય છે કે નહીં.
Okay. Like say, generally the psychology of tester is what? They always tries to find out the bugs or the errors from your work, right? It is not like say they have to show that there is no error. The task of tester is to find out the uncover error. Uncover error means the errors which are not detected by the developers. Generally, the developers in the mind of developers, it says that whatever they have developed is correctly, it works according to the requirements or it works according to the SRS, right? So it might be possible that all the errors may not be covered by the developers. So the testers have to test the program or the module in a such a way that they have to show the errors. They have to detect the uncover errors, right? So that is a destructive approach. And if the destructive approach is followed by the tester, that it is a successful testing. So it becomes a constructive testing and it improves the quality of the software. Okay? Okay. Next principle. Probability of existence of an error in a section of program is proportional to the number of errors already found in that section. So it says that the generally small number of models contains most of the defects. So testers should start the testing with the module having a probability of occurring of error is high. So number of modules are there, like suppose in a login form there is only two data, that username and password, right? But if you consider the registration form, it contains a number of data. So that form, that module has a higher priority of errors, right? So testers should start the testing with a module having a probability of occurring errors is high. Okay? Next. Any doubt? So next principle. It should also perform by independently. What is the meaning of independently? Right? Suppose if you people are involved in a SVP, you three people are there, right? Three students are there in a one group to develop the project. So now among your team, if anyone has to test your system, then as I said that whenever the persons who are involved in the different activities of SDLC, either in SRS or in designing or in coding, in their mind, it is already said that these are the requirements and these are the inputs, and they always tries to enter the data in that way only. So it is a positive way, right? They never thought any negative. They never thought about any negative point. So always they think about the positive and they test that module positively. They try to show that that module or that program is working properly or as per requirements, right? So generally it says that the tester should be as independent team member. And sometimes what happens, suppose I have tested one project, like say I have developed one project as a education system for different institutes. So when I developed the first education system for the any institute, I have lots of test cases and I have lots of data and I can check all the modules properly, and then finally I can say that it is working according to X institute. But later on, when I have to implement education system for Y institute, right? So now in my mind already I said all the testing process, all the test data, everything, and then for the next education system for the Y institute, I have that idea, so I can help for the testing the new education system for the another institute, right? But it might be possible that in previous one there might be some bugs or errors might not be detected, and I have used the same approach to test the education system for the Y institute, which may require some another features or functionality, right? So if I have been testing same education system for another institute, then it may not be effective, right? So in such scenario, the software may also be sent outside the organization for the testing. Is another person who is not involved in such activities. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Only Toral is there. Anyone else? Keta? Keta, can you listen me? Amisha? Eva?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. So let us go for the next point. Next principle. Everything must be recorded. What is the meaning of recorded? So it says that testing is a planned process. It is not like say that when a module is completed and you just start the testing, right? It requires a planning that we will see later on. What does the planning include, right? So whatever you require in terms of material, in terms of resources, in terms of manpowers, in terms of tools, etc. So it is a planned process, and it demands the every detail must be recorded in terms of hard copy, that is known as a document. So what you want to perform during the testing of different modules or the programs of your software or project, that you have to mention in the document. So it includes the record of each cases that also we will see later on, and we have already covered in the class what is a test case, right? So that we will see later on. So what test cases are required, how will you run it, what technology will you use, and then what the bugs or the errors you find during that testing, that everything you have to report with what the inputs and outputs were there. Everything you have to report in a one document, and it can be helpful in the other projects. So as I said, that suppose I have developed one education system for X institute and I have tested it, then during that testing, what I have tested, how I have tested, what techniques I have used, what data I have used, and what will be the output will be there, expected output will be there, unexpected behavior of the system is everything must be mentioned in a document, and that document I can use now to test the education system for the Y institute also. That is the everything must be recorded. Okay. Next is invalid inputs and unexpected behavior have a high probability of finding an error. So as I said that when your role is tester, right? So at that time you have to think negative. So you have to test your system with not only valid inputs, like as we have taken one example, like say you have developed one program which takes a one number and then it gives a expected output as it is a number is odd or even, right? So as a developer, if you test your program, then you always enter the number as 1 to 10, let's say. Between range, it is given that it will enter 1 to 10, right? But you never try to enter that number beyond the 1, above the 10, or you never try to enter, if I enter any special character, what will happen? If I enter any character, if I enter a string, if I enter any another invalid data, then what will be the output of my program or of my module? So, as a tester, when you have to test any program or module, then you have to also consider all invalid inputs and test the behavior of your system, and you may get unexpected result from your system, right? So that is say invalid inputs and unexpected behavior have high probability of finding an error. Next, tester must participate in specification and design reviews. So if a tester are not participating in reviews and designing, then it might be possible that either some test cases are not tested or some wait for no specification. Okay, if you are not clear about the requirements of system, right, and you just need to test your program, then how can you say that what will you enter? Hello? If I give any program and you don't know anything about that program, what the program exactly doing, right? What the program requires as an input, what the program has to generate as an output. You don't know anything about it. Then how can you test that program? It is not possible, right? So first of all, you have to understand the requirements of the system, what the module has to accept as a input data, what the module has to generate as an output. Everything you need to understand. So that says the tester must participate in specification and design reviews. Okay. So what the principles we have discussed today? Which are the principles? So first say the testing shows the presence of defects, right? So we have as a tester, the tester has to find out faults or the errors or the defects as maximum as possible. Tester has to find uncover area which may not be covered by the developers, because the developer's mind is positive while the tester's mind is negative. They have to test as a destructive approach. Okay. Effective testing, not exhaustive, means it should not become tedious task, right? You don't have to enter all possible input as valid and invalid combinations, but you have to apply some technologies, some methods which are available for the testing, using any appropriate methods that like say equivalent class partition, boundary value analysis, path-based testing, coverage, logic coverage. So many techniques are there, and according to your system, you can select the technique, and based on techniques, you can make the combinations of valid and invalid inputs. So it is not like say you have to enter all valid data as input or all invalid, because it is infinite. So it's not possible. So you have to make your testing as effective. You have to show that once you test your module, it works, whether it is invalid input, it gives the unexpected behavior or not, whether it is valid input, it gives the required output or not, everything you need to check. And again, say testing is not a single phase of SDLC. What is SDLC? System Development Life Cycle, right? So it has a number of phases like say requirement analysis, designing, then coding, then testing. So it is not like say after completing the coding and then you feel that your system is ready and now you execute your system and test all the modules, right? But you have to test from the SRAs. On paper, whatever you have gathered from the users as requirements, you just check out all the requirements you have collected are correct, complete, or not. And then if your user is satisfied that users agrees that you have noted all the SRAs, all the system requirements are correct or complete, there is nothing like missing point, right? Then you can go for the further step, that is a design. And based on SRS, a designing is prepared. So if I say registration form is there. Now in SRS, if I say registration module inputs like say username, password, then contact number, then country, birthday, etc. Right? But one point is missing. That like say email ID. I will not mention that registration form should include the email ID. So now in SRA it is not mentioned. So now that entire SRS goes to the design. Now the designer has to develop the database as well as the interface, means form design. Once, according to SRS, the form is designed and the form will include username, then password, then say contact number, CT, birthday, etc. But there is nothing like email ID. So it is incomplete. A point is missing, right? So you have not checked it. So now after designing, developer will implement the form. Coding is done by the developers. Again, same way, developer will not check whether the form accepts the email ID or not. As you mentioned that in designing, there is no requirement of email. So developer will develop that program according to the design. Then next, tester. Now tester also has to check SRS. In SRS, it is not mentioned that email ID is required. So tester will check only whether the registration form contains username, password, and what the data is entered by the tester is accepting as valid or not, invalid or not. Everything is done, and then you just deliver your project to the client. Now, when the client running and registration form, client feels that there is no email ID, right? But it says that email ID must be there. So again, it will come back to you. It makes an impression of your company in a market, and then you have to revise the SRS. So again, in SRS, you do require to make a modification that please include email ID also. Now, next, the same SRS will be given to the designing part. So designer has to redesign that form, and the designer has to include that email requirements. Then next step, database also is there. So in database, you also have to add one more column, that is email ID. And after that, that design goes to the developer, and developer will modify the code, and then again it comes back to the tester, and again tester has to test it. So it is said everything you have to perform again. So it increases the cost, time, and it says it decrease the quality of your product. Right? So it should not happen. So testing is not a single phase; it is a phase which is included in every part, SRS to testing. And another is early testing. Okay, what is early testing? As we discussed in previous one, from the SRS, you start the testing. Then designing also perform the testing. And when you perform this testing in designing, in SRS or in coding, they are known as a verification. And after once, finally, when you are doing the testing, it is known as validation. So that is the difference between verification and validation. Okay, so any doubt in any point? Let us revise it if you have any doubt. Anyone, please. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No.
So, I think today it is enough. And you just revise this thing. You people have the slides, yes or no? Many students have these
Yes.
slides. I have distributed these slides
Yes.
during their lectures. And those who have not the slides, please take from the others, or you just inform me so I can share with you. And just revise it again. And if you face any difficulty, we will discuss again in next lecture. Is it okay with all of you?
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. So can we stop it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And be safe. Stay at home.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.